Well, I believe I've mentioned before there are three films of a particular era of late, or well, not late, but 70s, and this one will be like the very early 80s, so it's somewhere in that neck of the woods. And there's other films that would fit as well, but for some reason, just in my mindset, were three films, that being The Exorcist, The Omen, and the Amityville Horror. And of the three, there was this approach to them that I sensed, at least for Exorcist and Amityville. It was, based on a true story. With The Omen, it's a true story that just hadn't happened yet. But with biblical beliefs and whatnot, it gave it a more of a lure to it for the film, and for the fascination of the audience to see a depiction of this concept of the Antichrist. With The Exorcist, demonic possession, of course, has its biblical roots, and that sort of, and the belief in it, and so that also had more profound effect on it, and why people would pass out in the theaters. They were so horrified just by the concept in and of itself, not just, and of course, seeing it, theatrically performed in front of them, and that kind of thing had this impact on them, and so that's part of the elements to it. In keeping with the theme of demonic forces and evil spirits and whatnot, that is, again, the same genre of horror that Amityville Horror displays here about what happened. That is sort of based on a true story. I mean, The Exorcist is based on a story about an exorcism that actually was conducted. And, the claims that are made by it, well, that's what the people involved say it happened and all that. And it was about a little boy, not a little girl, but, and that was the inspiration, really. Whereas Amityville Horror is even more direct to an actual event that did happen, where this man murdered his whole family in this house, which is a story that's pretty shocking and horrific in its own. He went off to prison, of course, and, what about the house? So it had to be sold, and this young family bought it and moved in, but only stayed for about a month, saying that the place was haunted and was driving them insane, and all kinds of horrible things happened, and they split and then told the story in a book, and the book became very popular and became this film. There's been multiple stuff done on the story. There's been multiple films utilizing basically the imagery, especially the big selling point is really the house itself. I think it's the back of it. With those two weird windows that look like angry eyes, and then you had the chimney in the middle. It's like its nose. It's just made to be a haunted house. And that's really the big pull, imagery-wise, of course. But there's been all these claims about what happened, about the Lutzes who moved into the house, and they said there was all these terrible things happened. There was a priest that they bring in to bless the house, and then he's attacked by evil spirits, and so on and so forth. I don't think anything happened at all. I think this was a bit of a scam, at least certainly by the Lutzes. I mean, there's accounts that George Lutz himself was studying up on the paranormal and stuff, and he concocted this idea. It's like, hey, look, if we move into that house, we could get a book deal about a haunted house story. And well, it worked, Great plan, the DeMeo, the murderer, or DeFeo, not DeMeo, who was the one who killed his family and everything. Later on, I think his lawyer jumped on this and was, I guess, going for an insanity plea where the guy felt that demons and spirits had talked him into committing the murders and this sort of thing. But what have you? Owners since then have said they've experienced nothing. There's nothing there. There's all kinds of stuff that there was some sort of lore that it was built on a burial ground of tribes, and there's angry spirits about that. Others that there was a doorway to hell in the house. All kinds of stuff like that, But again, everybody else who's since been at the house said no, there's nothing there, and plus they're very irritated with people showing up in their yard, taking pictures of it and everything. Actually, I think the windows are gone. It doesn't even look like the same house anymore. I think that's what happened that became of it. But anyway, that's the deal, and that's what inspired the film. And on top of all of that, the film isn't very good. It was a big deal at the time. It spawned a lot of other films, and a lot of people were into it, and a lot of people, were quite spooked by it, and believe, I'm sure, to some degree, that these things happened of some sort. Now, there's other haunted house stories, and you can wonder about those, but this one in particular, I don't think there was ever anything to it other than the creepiness of the scene of a horrific murder that did take place. For the movie itself, you have them, this family moves in, and one of the elements is that James Brolin plays George Lutz. He's the husband, and Margot Kidder plays his wife. And hey, she gets topless too, so there's that. That's nice. But people begin to notice he looks like the guy who committed the murders and this sort of thing. So, oh boy, it's looking like he's going to get possessed in the movie to murder his family. But don't worry, they escape in time. And there's several things that just happen, and it's weird and creepy, and then that's it. Rod Steiger plays the priest who comes in to bless the house, and obviously must have been shot separately. I don't know. There's no real interaction between them. He tries to call them on the phone, but the phone jams because the evil spirits don't want him talking to them. But one of the striking things beyond just the house was the scene of the house saying, "Get out." And this would be parodied and used for quite a bit elsewhere. Saturday Night Live would do it, stuff like that. But it's very brief. It's only in one scene, and it involves him when he's attempting to bless the house, but the evil forces don't want him to. And then he gets very, very sick and is just a broken man after that. And so there's like a separate story of him spiraling down into just damn near a catatonic state by the end. I don't think that was any account. So the movie takes some liberties that I don't even believe the initial book claims. I think that they did have a priest, and he said he experienced weird things in the house. I don't know to the degree that there was suddenly a swarm of flies attacking him, or maybe he did. I don't know. But him becoming blind suddenly and this sort of thing, and just having to live out his days in silence in a monastery because it broke his mind and everything. But that's how the movie delivers this. And the family appears to be unaware. But so that's his story ends pretty badly. As for the family, well, they had to leave the house and go elsewhere, But other than that, they're fine. Although in real life, the Lutzes eventually got divorced, probably fighting over the money they were making off of the store. I don't know. But it just, I was never really scared by it. It's not a whole lot to it. I can see the actors are trying to make something of it, so it's not really on them. But if I'm holding it up to Omen and Exorcist, it's no contest. It really doesn't hold a candle to those. So a good bit of it just stinks, in my opinion. And not just because the toilets keep backing up in the house. Yeah, that's not. I don't know very many plumbers who could deal with devil toilets, crap from hell, But anyway, so a lot of tropes of haunted houses and whatnot kind of begin here, though. So it did have its impact, and that's undeniable. And of course, like I said, there's tons of Amityville horror movies and stuff, just, you know, and again, making use of the theatrics of the house itself. But this is the only one that's taken from a direct account of people who actually did live in the house. So that's, you know, as far as I know, because ever since then, other people who've lived there said no, they never experienced anything. So I don't think there could be another claim for based on a true story, Amityville Horror Part 2. You know, I don't think so. So, bit of a bust on that one. Wasn't all that impressed with it, but can't deny that it did have an impact on the genre, and primarily because of that house and the line, "Get out."